So congratulations, you just graduated, you locked yourself a full-time position and you're about to enter the workforce to become an adult. And you're trying to figure out, how do I make sure that I take care of this money? Because for some of us, you're making more money than you've ever seen in your entire life. At least that was the way it was for me when I graduated from college. I was like, yo, I'm making a whole lot more money than I've ever had in my life. And so I was trying to figure out, what do I do with all this money? I made a lot of mistakes and I don't want y'all to make the same mistakes that I make. So here are 5 tips that's going to help you to figure out your finances as you move forward. Tip number 1, continue living like a college student. I know it's crazy, especially as you're seeing all this money, you're making more money than you know what to do with. And you're like, no, I'm not about to go back to that college life. This is my time to shine. This is my time to do all the things that I've ever dreamt about, which you can still do all those things. However, be careful with the decisions that you're making right now. Continue living like a college student for as long as possible. One of the things that helped a lot of my friends were they were able to continue living with roommates. They were able to continue living with their parents, which helped them save so much more money and helped them take the right financial step when they finally took the leap and moved out of the houses or moved out on their own. So if you can, for as much as possible, continue living like a college student. Just because you can afford to have every single streaming network under the sun does not mean you need to have all the streaming networks under the sun. Continue to have those phone plans that make it cheaper for you. Continue to maybe share passwords with people. Just don't say, oh, I have all this money now, I need to spend every single dime of it. No. Continue as much as possible to live like a college student. Step number 2, when you first start and you're trying to plan where you're going to live and you're trying to move out, your financial situation is going to be all over the place because you're going to be spending money left, right, and center trying to get yourself settled in. My word of advice is you do not need the fanciest appliances when you first get into the new life. You do not need the fanciest pots. You do not need the fanciest couches. You do not need the fanciest beds. You do not need all the super fancy stuff. Everyone understands that you just graduated. You don't need all of that in your first apartment. Like I said, continue living like a college student. Maybe go to Walmart to pick up a lot of the stuff that you need, or go to IKEA and get some of the stuff from IKEA. You don't have to have the fanciest stuff to put in your apartment. That can come later. For right now, you're trying to keep your overhead cost as low as possible. And that leads us to number 3. As much as you can, keep all your living expenses to be under 50%. As much as you can humanly do that. Keep everything under 50%. That means your rent and all your utilities and your internet bill, all of that stuff under 50% as much as possible. Because when you do this, you free up one paycheck that you're just like, oh, I'm using that to pay all my bills. And then your other paycheck, you just use that to save, invest, and go on trips that you want to go on and all that stuff. Gives you a lot more wiggle room with your money. And then we'll go to number 4, which is get an emergency fund. As quickly as you can, get an emergency fund of at least like $2,000 to cover any kind of emergency that may show up. The reason for this is unless you can still access the bank of mom and dad, which for a lot of us, we never even had that to start with because we'd be struggling through college. You're going to have situations that come up where you're going to have to fix some stuff, where you're going to have to handle some issues. If you own a car, you already know how it is to own a car. You got tires that can go bad. You got batteries that can go bad. You got all kinds of stuff that can go bad in the car. So having at least $2,000 that's just sitting in an account that you never touch, that just sits there for emergency situations, like not emergency situations, I need to get out of town. That's not an emergency. Emergency situations, like true emergencies where, and if it happens where you have a flat tire all of a sudden and you need $300 to change your tire or to get towed and all that stuff, you have the money available for you. Still part of the 4th advice is get and stay out of debt as quickly as possible, especially credit card debt. Once you get out of credit card debt, never go back into that thing. Pay that thing off as quickly as you can possibly pay it off because they're making so much money off of you and it's just hurting you in the long run. So get out of that debt. And if you have student loans, start trying to ask the questions of like, how do I get on a student loan forgiveness program? Figure out what income limits you can use to make sure that either you get on a forgiveness program or you try to pay off your student loans. Either one. Just figure out what it is to get this thing out of your life as quickly as possible so that you're not in the depths, so you can actually build for freedom, which leads us to the other part of chasing after freedom, which is if you have a job that offers you a 401k, please sign up for that thing because your company is literally saying, we will give you free money if you just click this button that said you'll put like 3% aside every single paycheck. So sign up for that thing. Also, I would advise every single one of you to open something called a Roth IRA where you can be saving and investing for your retirement as well. And then the third one, I'll also say if your company offers you a health plan, go with the health plan that gives you an HSA account. So this way you can also save money through that as well. And it gives you the cheapest insurance cost that you can possibly have as well. So those are the 3 accounts that I will definitely say open as quickly as possible. And then finally, the 5th one is use your money to buy things that actually bring you joy. Rather than buying things that everybody else is buying and buying things because you saw it on TikTok or you saw it on Instagram, use your money to actually buy things that you actually like and you actually enjoy. Spend your money. If you like traveling, save up and go on trips. If you like tech stuff, buy your tech stuff. If you like clothes, buy clothes. Whatever it is that you actually enjoy, spend your money on that thing. Don't just buy things because you think, oh, Sally is going to like that I bought this thing, so therefore I'm going to buy it. No, if it's not bringing you any joy, what's the point of you spending money on it? Because it's not going to help you or make you happy or anything like that. So that's a waste. Spend money on the things you actually enjoy. If it's eating out at fancy restaurants, save up money so you can go eat out at fancy restaurants. But when you do this, what's going to happen is you're going to prioritize some things, and some things are just not going to be on your list of things to do. 2 things real quick for bonus. 1, be generous. On this channel, I like to talk about generosity is greater than greed. Being generous is one of the greatest things that you can do for yourself. It opens you up to a world of gratitude, and life is just so much sweeter when you're generous with what you have. And then the second bonus is always be learning. Just because you graduated from college doesn't mean your education has come to an end. For some of y'all, you will decide to go back for a graduate school program, or some of y'all might take some certification, but I'm talking about even learning outside of those walls of a classroom. Always building yourself up. Always find new ways to develop yourself. Always find new skills that you can learn. While you're at work, find ways to continue building yourself and learning more and more and more. Do not just think that, oh, I've graduated from school, I never have to learn again. No. Find podcasts you enjoy listening to where you can learn something about the world. Find books that you enjoy reading where you can learn something. Even if it's fiction books, there's always something you can learn. But do not let this be the end of your education. Always be learning. Always be learning. If it's money that you're trying to figure out, you can subscribe to this channel and you can learn more about investing and money and all this other stuff. There's a plethora of ways you can use. But the point is, always be learning. Do not just end your education just because, oh, I'm done with college, I'm not doing any more education. One thing you will learn very quickly is it's better for you to continue to develop, continue to grow. It will make you stand out and you can continue to be more and more and more. And then finally, the last thing I'll say is, keep the connections that you've built while you were in college. Do not let those connections fall away. As much as possible, the friendships that you've had, keep those connections growing, because it's going to get harder and harder, especially if you're leaving the place where you grew up at or the college you left and you're going to somewhere far away. If you say these people are your closest friends, try your best to keep those connections growing. But anyway, that's all I got for y'all. I hope y'all learned 1, maybe 2 things out of this entire thing. And if you did, hit that like button. If you loved it, hit the subscribe button. And then share this video with anybody you think can benefit from hearing some of the tips that were shared on here. But I'm gonna catch y'all up on the next one. Remember, generosity is always greater than greed. God bless each and every single one of y'all, and I'm out. Peace.